Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel, and I got lots to share with you in this latest Moon Lambo Hot Jam. And I'll be starting with information from a video clip of Monica Long, who is an executive over at Ripple, speaking on CNBC, and is asked a number of questions, including things on the topics of okay, what the hell's going on with the SEC coming after Ripple? How is this factor affecting the price of XRP? What's the market look like? There are a number of questions. So I transcribe a bunch of this for you because I wanted to share it with you. And also, and this was the cool quote here, and I can understand why media picked up on this right away. Because actually, here's the headline from CNBC. Cryptocurrency is becoming the new money as institutional adoption is on the rise. And that indeed does come from a quote from Monica Long. And it's interesting because, look, I've said this a number of times on my channel before. Like, I personally am not interested in using any cryptocurrency in place of United States dollars. I live in the United States, in the Midwest. My United States dollars working pretty well. I understand that they're getting completely debased by the irresponsible monetary policy of the United States federal government. I get all this. I understand inflation and everything, but in terms of me functionally using them, the United States dollars on a day-to-day basis, working pretty well, at least at this point in time. Now, to all the people that on the cutting edge here and utilizing crypto for day-to-day purchases, kudos to you. I'm not against anybody else doing it. That's genuine adoption. I understand that, if you look at, just the adoption in terms of any technology, if you just look at a technology bell curve, there's going to be the early adopters, there's going to be the laggards. And so everybody that's early adopting right now, cool. I personally don't, for a number of reasons, including, I feel like it would add friction to my life, and then there are a bunch of tax implications I don't want to deal with specifically here. But I do think that eventually you're going to have a whole lot more people the world over utilizing crypto. It will become the norm. It's just another thing that you can use to buy stuff. I think it's an inevitability, and that's being recognized by all sorts of forward thinkers here, not just them. I've also got another clip that I wanted to share. It comes from my fellow XRP YouTuber, Crypto Eddie. And John Deaton, XRP community member and attorney, he was sharing it and said a couple things about it as well. But it's XRP's functionally being used as money today. And so just because I don't want to do it, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be done, or that people that enjoy using XRP and money shouldn't do it. Do whatever you want. I'm just sharing with you my own humble opinion, but I'm all for it for people that want to do it. I think it's fantastic. It's another use case here. And then also, and I got to share this because this is some of the most mind-blowing stuff. So we already know that former SEC chair Jay Clayton is an asshat, right? We're all on the same page there. So check this out. If you want to know the degree to which he's an asset, this is going to be one of the most amazing things that I've shared. There's a clip that has been circulating for the last few days, and I've been wanting to share it with you for at least a few days now. But it's Jay Clayton, and there's this clip of him, and he's talking about what would make something a security, and then which largely has to do with whether or not it's being there's a promise to build something. Like, you can think of it as an initial coin offering, and then it cuts to an interesting clip that just completely is contradictory, and then you look at the way that they ruled, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's a very damning moment for that little asshat, and I want you to hear it. So anyway, I've got that to share with you as well. But to start here with the CNBC clip here, Monica Long was basically asked, okay, she was asked, how is Ripple handling the SEC lawsuit effectively? And she said the following. This is a quote. Oh, and by the way, she is the general manager for RippleX, which is the basically the development arm of Ripple. Is probably a fair way to word it. So anyway, here's what she said. The company continues to grow. Since the SEC case was brought against Ripple, we've added 20 new customers to RippleNet, the network that makes cross-border payments more efficient around the world. We continue to grow and expand the business. Now, regarding the case, we believe we are on the right side of the facts and the law here, and we're looking forward to getting through it. Yeah, and so I talk about being on the right side of the law. Wait till I tie this all together, because by the end of this Moon Lambo video, wait till you hear what Jay Clayton says. You want to talk about being on the right side of the facts and the law? Yeah, I got something you guns don't want to hear. But is the price in the meantime being held down to regulatory uncertainty? And how is that factoring into just the price action we've been seeing in general? and she was asked that as well, effectively. It is good to see that there has been some growth with Ripple, but it does seem to me that they're based on those numbers, Ripple's growth has slowed down substantially ever since this action came out against them from the SEC. And so while there were a number of customers that they landed, I think within the first few weeks after the news coming out, they said that they had landed 15 new customers. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. People around the world still signing up, and those were customers outside the United States. But now to hear this much time has passed, and they've only added 20 new customers since then, so that's another 5 since January, if I'm doing my math right here. That's not their fault. They're adding, about 2 per week until this happened. It's very clear that this has impacted them. And that's why this is another reason I was talking about how unfair it is that the SEC was granted a whole nother 60 days to extend the discovery process when they've had 8 years to go after Ripple, and they've had half a year here and just going through the discovery process, and they're bringing up a whole bunch of nonsensical points which has delayed stuff. And so this, in the meantime, SEC effectively with infinite taxpayer money, and then Ripple actually functionally being harmed as a business, and that's repugnant as far as I'm concerned. But so anyway, Monica Long then stated the following. This is another quote. Regulators around the world are paying attention. We're seeing a lot of positive developments in global regulation. Places like Singapore, Japan, Switzerland, the UK, they've all come out with clear regulatory frameworks for crypto assets and how they'll treat them. And I think it's notable that with this latest surge in cryptocurrency market activity between 2020 and 2021, it's different. It's institutional adoption. It's major banks like DBS and JP Morgan and Citi, and major financial players like PayPal and Square opening up new crypto offerings. And so we do feel within the industry that we've reached this watershed turning point where crypto is going to become the new money and the new financial infrastructure for more efficient financial systems. Yes, indeed, truer words have never been spoken. And I do like that XRP here, at least as Ripple is positioning XRP to be used, it's the glue for all of this. Because cryptocurrencies and fiat currencies, they don't all magically interop with one another. You can't just exchange one for another. You do need to have open markets in order to facilitate those transactions. And just reducing the friction by, if you're a bank or remittance company, just the fact that you don't need to know every one of the over 11,000 other banks on the planet to do business with them if this is adopted. Because really, you have accounts where necessary. I mean, really, this would be automated through RippleNet and on-demand liquidity. But, I mean, think about this. You just have the pools of liquidity, the market makers, and you link up with just them. You don't need to know 11,000 other banks and remittance firms. You just tap into liquidity and off you go. You don't need to have all of those relationships, not personally brokered. And so that's a part of the special sauce here. And then on top of that, XRP is so blazing fast. If you're going to use a cryptocurrency for money directly, wouldn't XRP be a great one to use for that? Given that it's blazing fast, uses almost no energy, each transaction's fractions of a penny, it's actually the best crypto asset that can be used for payments. And so I recognize that strongly, even though I personally don't want to do it. Yeah, if you're one person that does want to do that, doesn't it seem to make sense that where XRP is accepted, that would be a great opportunity? And then, it's not just that, though. There are workarounds for this. If you want to spend XRP or pick your cryptocurrency, but it's not accepted literally everywhere, there are other firms where you can, for instance, Uphold. I've talked about them on the channel before. Cryptocurrency exchange Uphold. You can get a card and utilize that to pay for stuff with XRP specifically. My fellow XRP YouTuber James Rule XRP has been publicly sharing that he's doing that. So how about that? He's using an XRP security to buy stuff at Walmart, right? I say that facetiously, of course, here. So then there is this clip from my fellow XRP YouTuber Crypto Eddie. And she tagged attorney John Deaton, who, of course, is a member of the XRP community. He is the attorney that is seeking to intervene in the SEC versus Ripple case on behalf of over 17,000 XRP holders. And so there was this clip from Crypto Eddie. It's of Meg Nakamura. I hope I'm saying the name right. If not, my apologies. And she's the co-founder at Apto Payments, which admittedly I wasn't familiar with, so I just looked him up online. And so there she is as co-founder, but also Greg Kidd is a co-founder, and I was certainly familiar with Greg Kidd. I mean, he's done all sorts of stuff. Here you can see, just as described on the pager, Greg has acted as an advisor slash investor for numerous startups in the exchange space, including Ripple. Did you hear that? Ripple. He was, I remember, I knew that already. He was their chief risk officer, I believe was the title anyway. Back in like 2013, he was there for like a year or two. But also Square and Twitter through his seed investment firm Hard Yaka. And he's very pro XRP itself. He has publicly stated that he holds a lot of XRP. And he's also spoken publicly against the nonsense that's been happening with the SEC versus Ripple here. And he's got another firm called Global Idea, which I've talked about a little bit on the channel in the past. But and I don't want to do it injustice, but I think the idea behind that is kind of like just having an idea that you can use globally, and with blockchain technology, I think the idea is that you don't have to worry about the validity of it or trust. If you could just imagine have one ID that actually proves who you are. And I don't pretend to know a ton about it, so I may not be doing it justice, but it's something to that effect, so that you don't have to worry about carrying around infinite different types of identification for any other particular application that you'd need it for in life anyway. But so here you have this Apto payment. So you've got Meg Nakamura, and here's a quote that from this clip that Crypto Eddie shared. And so Meg said the following. Here's a quote. "I'm proud to say that, to give ourselves a little bit of an ecosystem plug here, I actually paid for dinner with XRP here tonight." So to JP's point, and I meant to mention that too, JP is the CEO of cryptocurrency exchange Uphold, and he was on a little panel here, and so she was referencing JP. She said, so to JP's point, it's absolutely what's coming. We facilitate it, and others will continue to push the envelope in this direction. Hopefully we're part of the story in making the future happen sooner rather than later. Exactly, and so people want to do this. It's technologically possible to do it. You can do it without a bunch of friction. The greatest friction comes from the legal consequences of actually using crypto to pay for stuff. So I think it's fantastic, and I want to see it continue to go down this road. And then there was this, and I came across this on my own in my Twitter feed. Frecky retweeted this from the Digital Asset Investor, and there's this video clip. It went on for a couple minutes. And so it's Jay Clayton, and he says a bunch of stuff. He says a whole bunch of stuff here about how Ether and Bitcoin specifically are not securities. And then he goes on to say, basically, if you're doing an ICO, and I'm going to share with you his exact words, if you're doing an ICO, that would probably most likely represent a security. And then it cuts to Vitalik Buterin, a founder of Ethereum, given the details of his ICO back in 2014. So this is just, it's so fun to compare it like this. And also, they keep saying, they're stating now that whether you talk about Jay Clayton here, our former SEC director, William Hinman, who I'm sure many of you are aware of right now, because he gave that famous ETH is not a security speech back in summer of 2018. They're now saying that, look, this was never an official position of the SEC. Well, what the hell are you talking about? You have right here, I'm going to read to you the exact quote. You have Jay Clayton, official asshat, and a former director of the SEC, stating that Ether and Bitcoin clearly not going to fall into the camp of securities. Well, if the head of the SEC, if he's stating that and it's still not official policy, what makes it official policy? What in the ever-loving hell? And so here's the exact quote from Jay Clayton. And I transcribed this. At one end of the spectrum, you have the pure virtual currency with Ether and Bitcoin being the most prominent examples. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have a distributed ledger entry that reflects what we would all say is an equity security or a debt security. I've been very public about this, If that's the spectrum, my view is you get to be in a security pretty darn quickly. Because what you're doing when you issue that is you're asking for their money to take and use in a commercial endeavor with the prospect of increasing the value of that piece of the distributed ledger. I see very little distinction, or any, between that and handing someone a piece of paper that says, stock, and you might be able to sell this for more in the future based on my efforts. We don't need to do a whole lot. We have a pretty long-standing body of law on dealing with securities. And so there you go. The pristine cryptocurrencies, right? Ether and Bitcoin, clearly not securities. Those are the two examples former SEC chair stated while he was SEC chair. That's what he stated. Ether and Bitcoin are the pristine ones, right? Okay. And then he goes on to say, okay, but what would not be pristine? You know, if you're asking for money, that becomes a security pretty darn quickly. And so, just to make sure everybody's aware, Ethereum launched in 2015. In 2014, co-founder Vitalik Buterin held an ICO. Now, they didn't use the term ICO because that didn't exist until 2017, but it absolutely was. And so in 2014, there's a video of him, and he's here. I'm not going to play this clip, but you can see there he is. He's at a podium, and he's talking about what the ICO is going to look like here. And it was with he was asking for money with the promise to build something. That's what it was. Now, this is why it's so rich. You look at what Ripple has done. Well, I'll tell you what. Ripple didn't create XRP. XRP was created on June 2nd, 2012. Ripple was created several months later. After this, the XRP ledger was already live. Ripple never asked for funds to build it out or anything like this. Nothing of the sort. They never sold to retail investors ever. And so then you get this. You get Vitalik Buterin, who stated the following. This is a quote from him in 2014, asking for money in return for the promise to build something that might be worth more in the future, which is what Jay Clayton describes would make something a security, quote, pretty darn quickly, end quote. So here's Vitalik Buterin. Okay, so I'll talk a bit about the funding model. So we will have a fundraiser for 2 months starting February 1st. It will be available at funds.ethereum.org. So the idea is that part of the initial issuance will be 1,000 ETH for 1 Bitcoin, or up to 2,000 ETH for 1 Bitcoin if you get in early to compensate for the increased risk. Well, how about that? He understood it's risky, but he's promising. That's the promise right there. We will build this out. We are going to do our best to make it worth more in the future. That is what Jay Clayton described makes a security. And they don't go after... Ethereum gets the golden pass, though. They get the free pass, and then Ripple gets the shaft. What in the ever-loving hell is that? In what world is this justice? In what world does this make logical sense? Well, it doesn't. And we know that. But that's why we need to keep screaming it from the rooftops, because this cannot stand. Ripple is on the right side of the facts and the right side of the law, and I think history will bear that out. I'll wrap up here, though. I am not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.